Hi guys, it's Sophie. So today I wanted to show you all of the books I've managed to gather over the last 2 months, and fingers crossed, and I'm holding you guys accountable to bug me if I lie at this moment. I won't be buying any more books till Christmas. I have a fair pile here, and I don't think I need any more at the moment, considering I'm hopefully going to get some from friends and family for Christmas. So whilst I was away, I went to Edinburgh for 3 days. And I bought a fair amount of books there. I sort of packed my suitcase around trying to fit all the books in and did a sort of bookshop tour day. So I just went from bookshop to bookshop for a full day in Edinburgh, which was absolutely great fun. Loved it, completely and utterly loved it. Some gorgeous bookshops there. So a few are from those bookshops and a few are that I've just sort of picked up along the way in the last 2 months. So the very first book I want to show you is The Box by Gunter Grass. I have found out since I bought this book that it's actually a sequel, so at some stage I'm going to have to get myself a hold of the first book. But my understanding is it's about a camera box that these children find, and I believe it belonged to their stepmother or to their mother, and it's about them trying to put meaning into this box and in the photos that this box has taken. It sounded really intriguing to me, and it won the Nobel Prize for Literature, so I thought it would be good to read. Also, the cover's just gorgeous, isn't it? Such a cool illustration. And then the next book I have is What Maisie Knew by Henry James. This is a growing up story, I believe, about a young girl who is caught in the midst of her parents' divorce. And it's about her sort of figuring her way around what's happening in this adult relationship and how she's understanding the world at a young age. This book I didn't actually mean to buy. I accidentally bought this one when I thought I had another one in a 2-box set. But I think it'll be interesting, you know, anyhow, and I really do like the cover. I just think it's lovely. I think it has quite a lot of emotion in it somehow, even though it's quite simple. And then the next book I have is a poetry collection, and it is Kid by Simon Armitage. So I did a little bit of Armitage when I did my GCSE poetry at school. I think we did like Hitchhiker or Hitch or something like that. But I haven't read much since, and this is just such an interesting collection. I think it's a beautiful book. And I really did like his poetry when I read it to start with, so we'll see if I feel the same now, but it should be interesting. They're quite sort of short, snappy poems, although I think potentially I might need to read into them a little bit. I've read a couple and it would seem to be the kind of thing you need to delve a little bit more into to understand. Okay, and the next one I have is Grief is a Thing with Feathers by Max Porter. Heard an awful lot about this one, and it seems to be absolutely everywhere in the bookshops. I understand that it's about the process of grief and also tied in with the Ted Hughes poem, Crow, which I haven't read and haven't been able to find yet, but I want to read the two in tandem, so potentially I might read this a little bit later, or I might just read it online because I think it probably would be available there. So I understand that the Crow in this particular book is a character in itself, sort of personifying almost grief and the process of grieving for the children who've lost their mother. It just sounds mega interesting, and it's had so many good reviews. Unfortunately, I've managed to get lipstick on it because it came back with me from Edinburgh and my lipstick went everywhere, so that's fun. But it's gorgeous nonetheless. And then the next one I have is Cannery Row by John Steinbeck. The only Steinbeck I've read before was Of Mice and Men, and I read that when I was very young. I read that when I was sort of 12 or so, and really haven't read anything by him since. But I remember really liking it, and the other day I was thinking about the book and thinking about the characters and sort of just relating it to other books in my mind, and thought, you know what, it'd be really interesting to read another Steinbeck and see whether or not I do enjoy the style, you know, going through, and especially now I'm a bit older. Not so sure what this one's about. I think it is sort of more character driven, around characters who live within this particular place, which I think is like a shipping yard. But yeah, not really sure what to expect, just interested to get into a bit more of his work and see whether or not I like it. So the next one I have is Donna Tartt's A Secret History, and I've had a really odd relationship with this book so far. Got it on Kindle, couldn't get on with it on the Kindle. Got it on audiobook, really liked it on audiobook, but somehow fell asleep or missed a bit and was like, what's happening? There was a massive sort of plot point and it just sort of arrived, and I just thought, just buy the book and just sit down and read it, because I think, you know, from what I listened to, I really liked it, but I wanted to do it properly, and I just think the book's really pretty as well. When I first saw it, I didn't think it was that gorgeous. The topography is just beautiful, and I love the sort of black and silver sort of combination. Really pretty, really excited to get to this one. And just a little bit about it. It's essentially a story about this particular young man who has gone to university, and he sort of sees these odd collection of people who are going in and out of this classics classroom with this odd sort of enigmatic classics professor, and they're sort of like the school's elite. Everyone sort of looks at them and just thinks like, oh, you know, you don't want to talk to them, they're a bit odd, and they gather around these 5 individuals in this very tight-knit group, and all these in-jokes around particular sort of classical phrases and pieces, and they'll speak to each other in little Latin and Greek snippets. And there is a sort of event including one of the friends called Bunny, which you're aware of from the beginning. That's how the novel opens, in that he dies, and it's sort of a backwards mystery. You know Bunny's going to die, but it's sort of finding out how exactly that happens and what events lead up to it. So really excited to get into this one and see how I like it when I'm actually reading it as a physical thing, like I should do. And then the next one I have is The Man Who Couldn't Stop by David Adam. This one just sounded really interesting to me. It's essentially short sort of stories about different individuals who suffer from OCD. One of the pieces I wrote in NaNoWriMo was called Voyeurs, and it's about a girl who has PTSD and sort of OCD tendencies around her unwillingness to let certain things go and the way that she interacts with objects in her day-to-day life. So I partly picked this one up as a bit of a research project. I've known a couple of people with OCD in my life, but have never known them well enough to ask the questions I would really want to ask, and hopefully this book will get me somewhere near to that. I really do like reading books about mental illness and learning about the struggles people go through. I find it so interesting in terms of psychology, and I think it helps me relate to other people when they do have those issues. And then the next one I have, I'm so excited for. I saw it in Waterstones and just thought it sounded so interesting. It's a book about books, which I'm such a sucker for. It's Ali Smith's Public Library. It's signed, which is lovely. It's just a little scribble by her. But yeah, it's very cool. It's a collection of short stories about books and about our relationships with libraries and booksellers, which just sounds so interesting to me. I love reading about books. I'm actually going to keep the sticker on, so sorry guys, I'm going to keep that one. But yeah, so it should be very interesting. I really like the sort of setup of it as well. There's like a little lender's card in the front. And it has that thing I really enjoy in books where you have little bits that are crossed out and sort of as though they've thought better of it as you go along, and that just sounds really interesting. As I said in my video a while ago, I did quite like the Ali Smith I read, but thought that potentially the story wasn't the one for me. So I think short stories would be a great way to find out whether or not I really like her writing, because I feel like I'm going to. So the next book I've not heard anyone talk about, I've not seen it anywhere really, I just found it in this one bookshop but thought it sounded fascinating. It's called The Weightless World by Anthony Trevelyan. And it is about a man and his boss who go away to try and find an anti-gravity machine that they think is going to revolutionise the company they work for. So it's sort of this weird corporate sort of adventure almost to find this really abnormal sci-fi product. I think it sounds really cool. I've never seen the publishing house before either. It's Gailey Beggar, which they sort of publish British works in these really nice little collections, nice bright pages and little flappy things, which we love the flappy things. So I'm quite excited to have found a new publishing house, and specifically one that publishes sort of British works, because it's one of the things I want to try and do next year with my reading, is to read more British fiction, and this might be a really nice way to get into it, especially if I do enjoy the stuff that's in here so far. I have a couple now that I think I might have hauled for you before, but I can't remember, so if I have, apologies, but I'll run through them anyway. The first one is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Started this one, I am about halfway through. Really enjoying it so far, really enjoying the writing style of it. I expect most of you know what it's about by now. It's that sort of essential novel about sort of the public shaming around sexual activity and around sort of that mocking almost that pilgrim nature of New America and that desire to have everything very orderly and by the letter, but how cruel that really is, told about this one particular woman's adulterous behaviour. Really interesting. Not necessarily the quickest book to read. I think the way it's told leaves me being particularly interested in some parts and not so interested in other parts, which can kill interest for me over time, but the writing style is absolutely gorgeous. I have never read any Hawthorne before, but as soon as I started reading it I saw sort of dedications to him everywhere from these other authors, and I just think the style is beautiful, so will work my way through this one soon and let you know what I think when I finish. And the next one I have is by Rose Publishing, again the same house as A Scarlet Letter, and that is The Trial by Franz Kafka. This is another one that I have on my Kindle but just couldn't make myself read when it was on my Kindle. I've been interested in this one for quite a while. I've had it on my Kindle for a couple of years but just never got round to it. It's another sort of classic novel, and I believe it's about a man who's sort of falsely accused of a crime and how he's trying to prove that he had no impact, had no involvement at all in this crime, and the world sort of telling him that he's guilty. I am really interested to read this one. I think it's the kind of thing that potentially could be quite important, same as sort of The Scarlet Letter, and there are certain things about it that drew me to it originally, and I think they're still there, that sort of same interest I had in like 1984 when I picked that one up, and I think hopefully I'm reading it about the right time. The edition is obviously beautiful, though unfortunately I have torn it, so that's slightly unfortunate, but I'll get to this one soonish, maybe in January. And as I said, I don't know if I've hauled this one before, but if I haven't, I'm so excited. It's the Welcome to Nightvale novel. I've been looking forward to this for such a long time. I'm the biggest fan of Nightvale. I have a poster just there of Nightvale, and yeah, I'm just really excited for it. I don't know if it's going to be any good. I don't know whether you'll lose out because you haven't got the audio experience, but if I love it, I'll buy the audiobook too, because I think it's still narrated by Cecil Baldwin. It's a big fat book. It's all got that weird sort of creepy vibe to it that you've got to love about Nightvale. This is going to be my Christmas book, so I try and have a book that I will sort of keep to one side that I'm really looking forward to read over the time I have off from work, so Christmas Eve through until the 4th of January, so plenty of time to dive into this one, and I cannot wait. And the last book I have to show you, there's been loads, is The Dig by Cynan Jones. This book sounded so cool when I picked it up, I just couldn't not buy it. The cover's cool. It's a badger. So, the story, I'm going to read you the bit at the back because it is so much fun. Deep in rural Wales, a farmer is struggling through lambing season when he becomes aware that his land is being stalked by a badger baiter who brings with him the stark threat of violence. Built on the interlocking fates of these two solitary men, this is a searing story of isolation and loss from a writer of uncommon gifts. I am so excited to read this. It sounds mental and great fun. I love stories set in rural locations. I grew up in a really rural area, and whilst there's not a lot going on in reality, I love reading about sort of rural settings and rural characters. So to have a sheep farmer and a badger baiter, just you got it. That lights me right up. So that's 13 books. I'm scared they might go in the fire. That's 13 books that I bought in the last 2 months, and those will be the books that I will be reading between now and hopefully January 1st to finish off my 0x16, to get all those books done before Christmas, and then just to have the Christmas books coming in, hopefully from family and friends. I hope that you are having a really lovely day, and I hope that you're feeling alright in yourselves and that you are happy and content. I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye bye.